How's it going? Happy Thursday. Rob here, February 22nd, 2024, and I'm doing a live on a few of my channels because there was a couple of videos I saw recently that I kind of want to break down. I want to talk about kind of an important message, and yeah, so I'm gonna do commentary on a couple of videos I came across recently that I thought were worth talking about. So do me a favor, whether you're watching this live or you're watching a replay, drop a comment, say hello, let me know that you were here. If there's something I say you have a question about, post them in the comments. I do a pretty good job of checking them all. If there's any takeaways from anything I talk about, please leave those in the comments as well. Again, I read all the comments and I do appreciate the feedback. Also, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to my channels, please do that. And yeah, so let's just dive in. I want to show you a quick video that I made about a little over a year ago, actually probably closer to 2 years, where I talk about what we're about to talk about. So let me just show it to you real fast, and then we'll get into the other ones. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right, sweet. Coming back here. Good. This is a new not a new tool, fairly new. I don't use this thing as much as I should. So okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna hit the play button. Let's take a listen. It's only been about a minute. And actually, do me a favor. Let me know that you can see and hear this okay, because I want to make sure that not only can you hear me, but you can hear the videos that I'm showing you. So do me a favor and let me know that you can hear me when I press play on this. And what she was referring to was 22 years ago, I got baptized in the Holy Spirit. I was not a Christian at the time. I didn't really know God. I didn't even know if he was real. And I was a notorious sinner at the time. But all I knew is that God started communicating with me. And it freaked me out, you know, but when it happened, I prophesied. God told me some things about the future. And the two things that I'm going to share with you today, in hopes that some people out there that watch this will believe it and they will prepare. Again, I know it sounds super weird to say God told me something about the future. I get it. I know how it looks. But this is 100% true, and I would bet my life on these things happening. And I'm hoping that some people will go, you know what, just in case that guy is right, let's go ahead and prepare, and it'll help somebody. So the two things that he told me about, God told me about, was there was going to be an economic collapse in this country and around the world, and basically the money, the currency, is going to become worthless or worth a lot less. And the second thing that he told me was that the United States and China are going to go to war with each other. So how might you prepare? Okay, that was it. That was what I wanted to show you. So this is that was probably about 2 years ago. I made that video because I was still at the Emerging Technology Center, and that was, I think, close to 2 years ago. But that wasn't even the first time I talked about China. I think when COVID first broke out, I was compelled to make a video because I don't really want to get into too much detail, but 24 years ago, I prophesied. The Holy Spirit came over me. He told me some things that were going to happen in the world, and one of those was that the United States and China are going to go to war with each other. I didn't really know what to do with the information. I didn't talk about it much, not publicly at least. I did talk about it with friends a lot, but I didn't share it publicly because it was just so far out there. You start telling people that you heard God tell you something, and people don't believe you anyway. So I really wasn't sure what to do with it. So I just kind of told the people I cared about, and even, they probably didn't believe me. But as things started to unfold in the world and I see this getting closer, I do feel more motivated to talk about it. So I want to show you this clip that there's actually two different clips I want to show you. Both were on the Joe Rogan podcast in the last 2 weeks. One was with Dr. Phil. That'll be the second clip. And the other was this guy, Brett, what's his name? Brett Weinstein. Okay, so I want to show you this Brett Weinstein clip real quick. And it's just a few minutes, but bear with me. But again, do me a favor, drop a comment. Let me know that you can see me okay, and then you can hear the videos that I'm playing from my YouTube channel. Let me know that you can hear those so that I know this is coming through okay, because I don't see any comments right now. So it concerns me. I appreciate if you would do that for me. All right, here we go. Let me share my screen with you. All right. Okay. I want you all to hear this. This is important.
Is encouraging a massive migration of people from South America into Central America, and that almost all of those people are ending up crossing our southern border and entering the U.S. The ones who are questioned are claiming political asylum, which is not accurate. So we talked to many, many migrants, and the universal story amongst the migrants who would talk to us is that they were fleeing bad economic conditions in the direction of what looks like greater opportunity. They've been told by the international community that they should come across the Darien Gap, where migration is familiar in one way. It looks a little bit like, but there is another migration. There is a migration of Chinese immigrants that looks different, feels different, and is being housed in a totally separate way in Darien for reasons that are not in any way obvious. Now, I don't know exactly what to make of that. I have hypotheses. There are no more than that. But the Chinese migration is not forthcoming about why it is migrating. It is composed mostly of young military-aged men. There are some women present, but it's not 50-50 by far. And the international community has arranged separate encampments. The Chinese are in many cases traveling a separate way across the Darien Gap. They're skipping some of the worst parts of it, traveling by boat. And as I think I mentioned, they are, when asked where they're from, where they're going, why they're going, they are uninterested in talking. There's a hostility to it that I found shocking. Because for one thing, if you imagined folks from almost anywhere in the world were heading to the U.S. because they didn't like the way things were in China, they feared their government, they thought that there was economic opportunity, they would be curious about Americans. These are soon to be their countrymen. They would tend to be interested in talking. And even if they, for some reason, because they had lived under a totalitarian regime, felt that they couldn't talk, they wouldn't be broadcasting hostility. They would be ambivalent or something. And that is not the impression that they leave when interacting with them. So I found that utterly alarming. And I came to wonder if the migration of people coming up from South America, many of whom, by the way, are not South American. There are people coming from the Middle East. We met Afghans. There are people from Iran, Yemen, all over the world. They land in Ecuador, which has no visa requirement, and then they migrate through Colombia into Central America and straight up to the U.S. But in any case, that massive migration seems to provide a cloak for this other migration from China, which is nothing if not mysterious.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it there. We're going to stop sharing. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So, sorry. Okay, so basically what he said is right now there's this massive migration from China of military-age men coming through the southern border, and they're not friendly. When they try to talk to these men, they're very hostile. They're angry. They're not like the people coming from Central and South America, which are very, very friendly and very excited to be entering the country. These people are not wanting to talk to anybody. He found it suspicious. And later in the podcast, he said it very likely could be a, quote, invasion. That was the words that he used. Now, again, maybe it's nothing, but I know 100% what happened 24 years ago, what God told me is that we are going to war with China. Okay, I've been saying this for, at least 2 years publicly, as you just saw, and now things are starting to, some strange things are starting to happen regarding China. Is it invasion? I don't know. I guess when God told me that we were going to war with China, the way I kind of suspected it would happen was maybe there would be bombs Hopefully not nuclear. I don't know. Hopefully it was not even going to be here. Maybe it was we were going to go to war with them and on their homeland and not here. But when I see this clip, it scares me because it's like this could be an attack from the inside, and that wasn't something that I'd even thought of or considered. All right, let me show you the next clip. This is Dr. Phil, and this is also the Joe Rogan podcast. After this, we can talk a little bit about what this means in some ways that you might prepare. All right, here we go.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I've then dug into what's happening with Chinese buying, the Chinese government or Chinese nationals buying farmland, and I've got a map, if I can find it, of where they're buying this land, and it's around U.S. military installations. They're buying up land around U.S. military installations. And so when you look at the amount of land that they're buying, it's not all that much. I mean, it's a lot of land, but given as much land as there is, it's like maybe less than 1%. But when you look at it strategically around military installations, it's really concerning, and then when you look at what's happening at those military installations that they have land around, like B-2 stealth bomber training, drone training, and all, it's very, very troubling.
God, it's so strategic where it's all placed.
Yeah, if I can get a hold of that map and show it to you.
It's kind of crazy that the United States has been invaded. And when did that start?
Look, we have so many Chinese Americans here that are wonderful people that contribute so much. I don't want to say anything to create any animus against these people or Chinese people in general. So many of these people are trying to get away from the Chinese Communist Party. They're just trying to get away from them. How they're getting out, I don't know. It's a long way and it's expensive, and you don't just wake up in China and say, I think I'll take a vacation. That's not how that works. You got to get a visa, right? You got to get permission to leave. You got family back there. I don't know how they're getting out, but I know that we've got an awful lot coming across our southern border. And when military-aged Chinese men are showing up at the border, and it's mostly in California where they're showing up, and it's okay.
What is this?
This is this map with the military installations. You got to look at this.
Is it similar to what?
Okay, I want y'all to keep with me here. This is an important part, and then I'll stop the share here.
He just showed?
No.
Jamie just showed where the farmland was.
Yeah,
so
this is different. Look at this.
So there's the military.
That's the farmland. There's the military installations on top of it.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Look at that. Now, is that...
Look how much farmland they have.
But is that accidental? Come on. That's not random.
It doesn't seem too random, but it also seems amazing how much farmland they have.
Yeah.
Was this always legal?
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Like maybe it's nothing, but when you add those things up, we have all these Chinese people coming through the southern border, all these military-aged men. That's one guy talking about it, Brett Weinstein. There's a completely different guy, Dr. Phil, now is talking about all this farmland that the Chinese are buying right next to our military bases. And I'm telling you, 100%, I know what God told me 24 years ago, and I've been saying it for a long time. We are going to war with China. I don't know what that means for our way of life. I really don't. I don't know what that means for me. I don't know what that means for you. But I know that if I didn't know God, I would be really scared of the way that the world's going right now. When I look at the way the world's going, I would be terrified if I didn't think that God was in control. That's what gives me the most peace, is knowing that, he's got it all figured out. And in the end, we win anyway. Now, that doesn't stop me from preparing, because a lot of people will say, oh, we shouldn't live in fear. I'm not saying live in fear. I don't live in fear, but I do prepare. I have a food pantry, a very large food pantry. I have a shotgun. I, train myself to stay strong and healthy, to fight, to, lift weights and keep my cardiovascular up, because I want my body to work well, especially if things go south or when things go south. But then I also I went to Texas recently because somebody had some property down there out in the country, and I thought, this might be a good backup plan, good place to go when the shit hits the fan, because I really feel like it's going to be the cities. There's going to be, could very well be not pleasant, not a good place to live, with crime, becoming rampant, but also densely populated areas could be the places that are going to be the most vulnerable to attacks by, a foreign enemy. So what I've read is that maybe the Midwest would be a safe place to go, because there's so much land. Most of the people in America live on the coast. They live really not even just on the coast, but like the Northeast, I think 30% of the population lives within a 3-hour drive of Baltimore, because you got New York and DC and Philly and all these big cities. But, I would be thinking about, it. I feel like if I didn't share this information, I would be negligent. So I'm just telling people, hey, maybe you want to prepare. Maybe you want to save up some money, get debt free, buy some precious metals, get a dog. There's a lot of things you could do. Have some clean water as backup. I think one of the videos I saw recently talked about if there was an attack, it would be on our whole electronic grid, and that would affect even our clean water supply and all kinds of other things. I'm actually going to Costa Rica in a few weeks, because I'm thinking about, hey, maybe that would be a good, maybe it'd be better just to live out of the country when this shit goes down. I don't know. But I would be most importantly, I guess I say all this to say is stay close to God, because you're going to need them. For me, I don't make any decisions without praying about it. Not personally, not professionally. All the decisions I make I run through God. So I wouldn't even necessarily move to Costa Rica unless God told me to, even if I thought it was going to be a better way of life, better standard of life. I wouldn't necessarily move there, because God might want me in the States, even in the middle of the storm, because I'm there to do something, to help someone or whatever else. Maybe I need to learn something for myself. So I think the most important thing you can do right now is get close to God, stay close to God, get yourself right with him, whatever that looks like if you're not. And, but then also prepare, for just real world events that could happen if there was a war, if there was a economic meltdown, and a war with a country as formidable as China, So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to share those 2 videos because they shook me a little bit, and I just want to tell as many people as I can that it's coming. I'm sure that I believe that God sees the end from the beginning. Part of me was wanted to tell people, hey, call your senator, call your elected officials and tell them what's going on at the southern border, and they need to close it up, and they need to stop the Chinese from buying farmland next to military bases. But in all honesty, I believe that God sees the end from the beginning. Okay. He already knows what's going to happen. So if he told me this 24 years ago, I'm I don't even know if any of that would matter. Not to mention my voice is so small, but even if we were to get the message out, can it be stopped at this point? Is this judgment for America based off, the way that we've let the country go? I don't know. But I suspect that it's already been written. It's already done in his mind, because if he told me this, then it wasn't like he said it could happen. He told me it does happen. So anyway, that's it. I know it sounds weird. Every time I talk about it, I feel a little bit strange trying to convince people that, I know something in the future that's going to happen, that God told it to me, but I'm that sure. Again, I stand to gain nothing if I'm wrong. I actually just would look like a big big dummy if I'm not right here. But the only thing I'm really hoping to do is help people that even if you're like, you know what, maybe he's right. I just have a feeling like people think we've been so blessed in America that there's been no real conflict. Never on American soil have we ever had a war. So I think people just think like, it can never happen kind of thing. Even though in other parts of the world, that's war is all they know. It's just war's just a very common occurrence. But here we just kind of think it can't happen, and we live as such, like it would never happen. But I would be alert. Look at what's going on. You can see something shady's going on, and there's a lot of writing on the wall. So I would just prepare. That was really my point in making this video. So I'm going to pause it there. I was actually going to go and I was going to dissect another video by Casey Zander, a video I saw today where he's like a dating coach. But I'm not going to do that. I want to do that on a separate video because it's very unrelated to what we just talked about. So I'll probably do that. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it later today, no later than tomorrow. But for what it's worth, take everything I said into consideration, pray about it. And, if you have any tips for how one might prepare for something like this, drop them in the comments for the rest of the people. For me, I'd like to know as well. All right. Talk to you guys later.